Hello, dear viewer. Denzel Washington is a man, a myth, a legend, renowned with an extensive and first-rate career. I don't believe I need to tell you who Denzel Washington is. You know who he is, your parents know who he is, and I'd bet even your grandparents know who he is. An icon in living form. But have you taken the time to look at his filmography? My mistake. His previous movies? And have you seen that he has a lot of action movie roles? Weird, isn't it? How a dramatic actor can have so many action movie roles? Well, not really. I wouldn't even know how that comes about, but what I do know is ridiculous video premises, and this is the premise of this particular high-budget, thoroughly planned, grade A YouTube video. What Denzel could beat Denzel? Specifically, which Denzel action movie character can beat the Equalizer? You know the Equalizer, right? The Equalizer is a character from the 50s or something, but it matters to us because in 2014, The Equalizer, starring Denzel Washington and directed by Antoine Fuqua, was released, and in this movie, the levels of super secret, super capable, super spy that works at Home Depot reach critical levels. I'm talking about bordering levels of anime levels of ridiculous for a man in his 50s to be doing, regardless of being the CIA equivalent to LeBron James. Flash forward to today, and a trilogy has formed where every subsequent movie has a larger body count than the last, and Denzel keeps doing things that would make Daniel Craig's Bond blush. Maybe that's an exaggeration, but you get the point. This guy means business, if you're evil, of course. An irredeemable bad guy. If you're just some Joe Schmo who might have been a little mean to the cashier, then I think you should reflect on that. But the Equalizer isn't gonna brutally murder you. I think, anyway. We have a champion for this exercise, a retired but still in his prime former LeBron James class CIA agent, with a knack for only killing people he deems as truly villainous. He is armed and should be considered dangerous. So what about our challengers? What's their story? I have a very specific criteria to allow other Denzel action movie characters to partake in this melee. The movie needs to be an action movie, with two special exceptions with the movies The Manchurian Candidate from 2004 and The Tragedy of Macbeth from 2021. Other than those two, the movies need to have the action tag on Letterboxd. The other criteria is that Denzel needs to be on the cover. This one pretty much applies to all of them. But now that we have our criteria, we can start admitting contestants. But here's the catch. When I first started making a list for the movies I needed to watch, I noticed a trend. Most of the characters found using my criteria were cops or FBI agents. Now, I'm not gonna question the training of America's finest, the FBI, but I don't think some FBI agent is going to be able to even get close to the Equalizer. But I'll list all of the movies because I watched them and I'm going to mention them even so. In no particular order. First we start off with Xavier Quinn from The Mighty Quinn from 1989. A Jamaican, I assume, because of the very good accent Denzel is attempting here. In all of the movies Denzel has been that I've seen, this seems to be the only one where he does an accent for some reason. Now, The Mighty Quinn, Xavier over here, has some dark magic powers, and I guarantee you he wasn't really even trying in this movie. He has something up his sleeve, and I believe that the Equalizer wouldn't stand a chance because of how fast this guy is. Also, the drip is immaculate, big island vibes. We're gonna chalk up Xavier Quinn as a maybe for now. Once the brackets are filled out, we'll see if he's got what it takes. Next up is Tobin Frost from Safe House, 2012, a movie belonging to the subgenre I observed, Denzel with White Boy. This obviously as an effect of the success of Training Day, but this movie is actually not that bad. But we're not here to talk about the movies, we're here to talk for a much more serious and important task, pitting fictional characters against each other to see who would win. And would Tobin Frost beat the Equalizer? Maybe. This one is peculiar because both Tobin Frost and the Equalizer are former CIA. Both killed lots of men in their respective movies, and both are feared by the other characters in their movies. So they both mean business. So could Mr. Frost beat the Equalizer? Yes, but we'll get back to it once the other players are laid out. Now, dear viewer, the character who inspired this entire video, John W. Creasy from Man on Fire from 2004. Beautiful movie. I've seen it 3 times in the last 3 months. Something about it speaks to me. But would Mr. Creasy beat the Equalizer? I don't know. We really don't know what this guy did before drunkenly stumbling into Mexico, but I assume nothing nice with the way he killed all those men with some serious aura in that suit. Is it realistic? I don't care. That suit is looking very nice. Creasy is also very injured throughout the events that he kills people, so at full strength and sober, who knows? It's debatable, so we'll debate it later. The penultimate challenger, a religious man similar to our previous challenger, Eli from the Book of Eli from 2010. This is a Fallout coded movie if I've ever seen one, but also a little bit of Mad Max coded movie if I've ever seen one. I have to get something off my chest, dear viewer. I am a sucker when it comes to movies set in the desert. Anything set in a desert really, and I don't know why. I've never been in a desert, but Mad Max, Fallout, and spaghetti westerns are so powerful in your developmental years that they must stick with you, I guess. Anyway, Eli. Could Eli be the Equalizer? 100% yes. But would he want to? Eli is on a mission and he only really seems to kill bad guys. The Equalizer is not a good guy, but he's also not a bad guy and would have no reason to impede on Eli's mission, so I don't know. But what I do know is that Eli is a killing machine, but he's killing with a righteous purpose, so it's all good, don't worry about it. Macbeth. From the tragedy of Macbeth from 2021. Could this medieval usurper beat the Equalizer? Probably. But that hinges on one thing, dear viewer. Was the Equalizer born of woman? Meaning, did the Equalizer have a natural birth or was he a C-section? Spoiler alert, for a 400-year-old play, Macbeth can only be defeated by men who are not naturally born. If the Equalizer wasn't born naturally, then 100% the Equalizer would dog-walk Macbeth. The Equalizer will pull out things Macbeth would have never even imagined, using like judo and martial arts and shit. This guy Macbeth doesn't stand a chance. Only if the Equalizer wasn't born of woman. If the Equalizer was born of woman, then I don't know how he would lose, but he'd lose somehow. But we'll finalize this discussion later. Now, dear viewer, I watched a lot of these movies for this video, and out of the 17 movies that I watched, minus the 3 Equalizer movies, leaving 14 movies, out of the 14 movies that I saw following my criteria, only 5 resulted in challengers to the Equalizer. That is because the 9 other movies have capable protagonists, don't get me wrong, but truth be told, they're protagonists that would absolutely get pummeled by the Equalizer, and it would not be pretty, okay? Walter Garber from The Taking of Pelham 123 from 2009 is just a guy who works for the New York Metro. Ben Marco from The Manchurian Candidate from 2004, although he's Delta and a Ranger, he's also losing his mind from the attempted mind control program he has succumbed to, so I don't think he's in any condition to take on a super spy. Bobby Trench from Two Guns 2013, the Equalizer's son in all honesty, another Denzel with White Boy movie over here. This guy is just an inferior version of the Equalizer. Doug Carlin from Deja Vu 2006, another instance of just a guy. This time though, he is an ATF agent, and that he is using some time travel shenanigans. The only way this guy gets the Equalizer is if he uses some time travel to know how to get to the Equalizer before the Equalizer gets to him. Even then, the Equalizer will probably just look at this guy and he'd die. Frank Barnes from Unstoppable 2010, just another train guy. The Equalizer would need to be on the train tracks trying to stop it with his bare hands to die to this guy. Exo Hunter from Crimson Tide 1995, no, this guy is just a high-ranking officer aboard a nuclear submarine, which if the Equalizer decided to fight this guy with another submarine, then maybe the Equalizer would lose and explode in the ocean. Anthony Hubbard from The Siege 1998, just another FBI agent. Not a very good movie. Anyway, Parker Barnes from Virtuosity 1995, in a different era of filmmaking where the action is more modern, where they're doing some crazy kung fu bullshit and like flying through explosions and stuff, then maybe. Like if this movie was made today, the program that Parker Barnes would be hunting would be explicitly stated as being the most deadly human being on the planet, and so Parker Barnes would be just as dangerous and as cunning. But in this movie, Parker Barnes is just a regular cop who is a tad bit more gung-ho because he's hunting the murderer of his family, but he can't beat the Equalizer. No way. Finally, there's Alonzo Harris from Training Day, the first Denzel with White Boy movie, in this case, the white boy of the time, Ethan Hawke. And in this case, for this movie, the only villain in this list. Unfortunately, Alonzo thinks he's that guy, but he ain't so. He'd get his shit kicked in by the Equalizer. So we have 5 actual contestants: Xavier Quinn, Tobin Frost, Eli, John W. Creasy, and Macbeth. So who would win? You know something I just realized? If we add the Equalizer into this mix, we get 6 players. 3 players per team to make a basketball 3-on-3. That's right, dear viewer. This whole time, I was just making the world's most diverse basketball matchup. Here we have Denzel versus Denzel. Then on the guards, we have Denzel versus Denzel. And finally at the forwards, we have Denzel versus Denzel. Now, I know what you're seeing is not in fact 6 Denzel Washingtons that I made in my NBA 2K My Career Creator. It isn't, because even though I took the time to make a character that looked like Denzel, the game doesn't let me make a 3-on-3 with the same characters. So let's use your imagination a little bit and just pretend that all of these players are Denzel. As you can see, the winner is Denzel, not only because he won the basketball game, but because through hard work and dedication, Denzel Washington has cemented himself as an icon of cinema. Even if he doesn't have an art house or highbrow movie, through the consistent quality of his work, he was able to get into the rarefied air that seldom an actor achieves in their career: true notoriety. I've been your host. Go watch a Denzel Washington movie, preferably The Tragedy of Macbeth. And as always, goodbye.